Hello, welcome to my channel where we simplify the practice of quantity surveying. If you are watching my video for the very first time, or you have been a follower of my works and you have not subscribed to my page, please hit the subscription button. This is the only way you can encourage us to continue to do what we are doing best. Having said that, on today's on today's episode, we shall be uh, practicing how to uh, control costs on site. As you all know, everybody that is into one form of business or the other is for him to make profit. So also, if you are in the business of construction, you are there to make profit in the end. And if measures are not put in place for you to manage your cost properly, you might end up uh, running the project at a loss. So what we are going to be practicing on this episode is how to manage costs on site. If you watch my last episode where I taught on how to prepare a budget, I did told us that in my next episode, I was going to use that same template I will expand that template to serve as a cost control template. And that is what I am going to be doing. You come along with me and see how I navigate, I explain the template I have prepared. If you watch my last episode, you'll be conversant with this bill and this figure of 39 million as the tender amount. And you will also see this figure where I prepared my budget for labor, for material. Also, I had a column for subcontracted item that is for specialist works, which I have hid because there are no figure to work with on this. So, and it was this same unit rate, the unit rate of labor and material, unit rate for labor and material that I now multiply by a coefficient that gave me this amount. After securing the job, uh, uh, I now had to cut the link of I had to cut the links of these unit rates that were linked to my rate build-up so that this unit rate will not change because it is my budget for which all my work I'll be referencing my activity on site to, because this is what we have prepared and we have declared to the management that upon execution of this job with this project, we are going to make a 10% profit in the end. And to cast our memory back a little, I will show us this I'll show us this sorry. I'll show us this selling sheet, which I believe if you have watched the last episode where I dealt with budget, how I came up, how I built up the overhead and profit breakdown and all. and how I link this markup 1.38 to the budget that gave me this price. So now if you can see, if I say I take this divided by 1.38, I should be having 76, which is the 76 you are seeing here. 76 you are seeing here as my dry unit rate. So I just needed to bring us a little, cast our memory back. So after this one, I did said I was going to now, I was going to now uh, reconstruct the template that it will now be useful as a cost control template. And this is what I did. I now had to create this column, this gray colorish columns, and I now created this other green column. And what with a little different from the budget. The only different from the budget is this one now is named as a budget progress. Why this one is a budget yet to be spent. You know, if I advance, if say I am expected to report, to put up a report to my superior every week on my activities on site, which means every week I am supposed to go to site, check the progress done, then record those progress, come back to this to the office, then advance the progress. Then the progress will now tell me what I am expected to spend in achieving those progress I have made on site based on my budget. Then I will now bring my expense after deduction of material left on site, match it with the, compare it with what I was supposed to spend based on my budget projection and what I have spent if I am either running the project at a loss or I am within my budget. So that is what I have prepared this template. So now you see I have a column here where I am going to advance progress based on the quantity in the bill. So let's say item A, which is blinding concrete, I did 10 cubic meter. I did say I did 5 cubic meter. Then for the foundation footing is 46 cubic meter. I did 40. I'm left with 6 to do. Then for ground beams, I did 13. These are just based on assumption. Then for the bed, that is the slab on grade, I did 56. Then for the column base, I did 8, but I'm left with 18. Then for the column starter, I did 2. Then for the step, I did 2. Then for form work, I did 25. I did 150. I did 79. No, I did say 40. I did a 60. I did for steps, side of steps, I did 12. Then for riser, I did 10. Then for reinforcement, I did 1000 kg for 12 bars. Then for 16, I did 500 kg. So I have advanced this progress. So this progress now will now, you see what is happening here is I am multiplying my unit rate by the quantity that I have advanced that I did within the week in review. Then the same thing goes to material, the rates, the budget rate multiplied by the quantity I have done. So by the what I am supposed to spend is 16 million. That is labor and material. I'm supposed to spend 16 million to carry out all this progress I have advanced I have made. And what is remaining that I am supposed to spend for the remaining work that I have not done is 11 million. So now what I did here is this quantity yet to be done is the bill quantity minus progress quantity gives me what is remaining to be done. Then in this on this part of the yet to be done, let's say the project commence say this week, and I've been on site for 2 weeks, and this progress I have advanced is for 2 weeks. Then the tendency that after the 2 weeks, prices in the market will change is there. So that is why, as you can see here, I still have, because I have break the links of the unit rates in the budget, because the budget now remain permanent, because this is the budget that I have used to price my bill. So that is permanent. Now that I have worked for 2 weeks, let's say cement and granite now went up. The only quantity that the increase in price will affect is the quantity that I have not done. So I will do an illustration with this quantity that is not done by going to my basic rate to increase the quantity, increase the price of cement. Say I'm increasing it to 11,000 per bag, divide by 50 now, as against the one I was having 190 per kg when I priced the bill. Now that after 2 weeks, cement has gone up, it has now become 220, which means I have the difference of 30 naira per kg. And let's say for granite as well, instead of 7,000 per ton, as granite went to 9,000 per ton, which means there's a 2,000 increase. There's a 2,000 increase. There's a 2,000 increase. So now, when we go back to my budget, you will now see that my budget was supposed to be 28 million. Now, end of site is giving me 29 million because I am having an increase of 1.2 million. And why did I have the increase? Because cement has increased by 30 naira per kg, while granite has increased by 2,000 per ton. So if you now multiply the quantum of granite I needed to buy now to execute the remaining concrete work to be done, I'm going to incur additional 1,200,000. So we are going to leave it in this manner, then see how it will affect our profit, the profit we intended getting, we projected we are going to get at the end in subsequent documents that I'm going to be displaying. So now, because this spreadsheet is wider, as you can see, I am navigating from one place to another, trying to see the figure. So I now went further to now reduce this spreadsheet to now become sizable, that at a glance I am going to see. And what I only pick from here now is the amount. And I now summed up all the likes item, meaning this concrete, they are all concrete. So there's no point having them in different rows. So I now summed up this whole concrete, then sum up the whole of the amount. Then formwork, I did the same thing, and I did the same thing for reinforcement on this other sheet. Then as you can see now, I am no longer moving. I can at a glance, I can see my all of the spreadsheet. And what did I do? I only just went home. I went to this sheet, and I the same thing I did for form work. So that is what I did for the same thing I did for reinforcement. So now, rather than bringing the unit rate to this sheet, I only just brought the amount. I only brought the amount to this sheet. I brought the labor amount, I brought the material amount, and I now have the total for the labor and the material. Then the progress as well, I brought the quantity, the labor, material amount. I brought the labor and material amount. And now you can see at a glance, you can see the total quantity I'm expected to do for concrete. All the concrete on that bill is 224 cubic meter. I have done so far 126. I'm left with 98 cubic meter to do. That is, and this is the yet to be spent amount that I am supposed to use to execute the 98 cubic meter. Form work, I'm having 650 square meter. I did 397. I'm left with 252 square meter. Form reinforcement, I have done 1.5 as against the 2 ton we have in the bill. So I'm left with about 0.6 ton that I'm going to do. And the amount I needed to spend to execute the remaining job is 800 for reinforcement, 1.7 for form work, then 10 million for concrete. So this sheet now, I now went further now, where I am now I'm going to now compare my total purchases with the total amount I am expected to spend based on my budget. I'm now going to compare it to see if I am within my budgeted figure, or I have exceeded, or I have exceeded, or I have made some savings. So I now went further to now create this sheet where I now introduce the expenditure column. And the expenditure column, as you can see, is empty. So the same figure we saw on the other sheet, which is this is budget release. I'm having 28 million as my budget, my original budget. This is what I have, activities I have done on site. Activities I've done on site. Site activities I have done. This is the figure that I'm supposed to spend for the work I have done on site. So now we are now going to go to the file where I have where I am expected to keep my record of all expenses, and create some artificial figure that we are going to use to now compare this figure. So we will now go to the reinforcement. John Holding is my supplier. He supplied me reinforcement of 1.5 million. If you want to see the breakdown, how the 1.5 million, what constitutes the 1.5 million, is for you to go to the folder and search for John Holdings invoice number 003 for you to know whether there are 12 dia and 16 dia on the inside the rate unit. Then the banding wire, I spent 300. So I bought banding wire of 150. Then cutting discs I bought for 50,000. Then Suli, that is the labor that I contracted the job to for the reinforcement job. I have paid him 400. So now the total amount I have spent for reinforcement, labor and material is 2.1. So I go to concrete. So now I'm buying granite. I bought granite for 4 million. Then I bought sharp sand for 2.5 million. I bought cement for one, I bought cement for 4 million. Then the labor that I used to cast the concrete, I spent 500,000. So I have spent 11 million for my concrete work, both labor and material. Then form work, I bought timber for 1.1 million. Then I bought 18 plywood for 1.8. Then I bought nail for 500. Then the labor, I spent 600. So these are my expenses that I've incurred, which means my total expense is 17 million. So then we now go to my spreadsheet to now analyze to see where we are losing and where we are making some savings. So now the total amount of expense that we saw there is 17 million, meaning for concrete labor, I was supposed to spend by my budget, I was supposed to spend 708,000, but I ended up spending 500,000. I am making some savings of 280 208,000. Then for my farm work labor, I was supposed to spend 640,000. I spent 600. I made savings of 40,000. Then for my reinforcement, I was supposed to spend 253, and I've spent 400,000. I am having losses of 146. If you sum up all the labor, uh, I am still at positive because the 140 has been subsumed by the savings I made here. But why it's always very good for you to analyze each item in the bill is for you to know where you're actually having problem, so that you can now trace to know if it is based on negligence or it is actual loss. If it is actual loss as a result of either the labor cost has increased because you budgeted, say you were going to do per ton 120 and eventually you are doing it at 150, which is explainable, or the labor cost is still the same, but you are still having loss. You see that maybe you have too many staffs on site now doing the small job. So that tells you that you needed to reduce your workers to now keep you within budget and still insist that the sizable workers still achieve the progress that you needed to if you are paying them daily. But if it is based on contract, it could be that the price has changed because you couldn't negotiate with them. You couldn't negotiate with all the people that had come were refused to accept the price you have proposed in your budget. So that is why you are losing. That is explainable. Then you come to the labor, the material. I am making savings of 600 for concrete. I am losing 1.2 for form work. Then I am gaining I'm gaining 996 for 990, 196 for reinforcement. Then overall, I am losing 340, 46,000. So the form work now, you can imagine if probably you have just summed up, you just pick this figure and match, and you're having this, you won't know where your losses are coming from. But if you have every of the item being analyzed, you can now begin to either check what the problem is. Is it that your materials were stolen? Your material were stolen, the plywoods were not brought completely, or the material left on site were not properly counted. So, and now the material that you're supposed to deduct from the total expense before you now compare it with your budget release, you didn't do it properly. So you can now go back to check what the problem is regarding the form work. If it is an outright loss, as a result of negligence, waste, then you will now put measures to curtail it. And if it is a loss as a result of fluctuation, because you bought plywood, marine plywood, instead of buying 25,000 per piece, you bought 50,000, 30,000 per piece, and that is why you're having this cost. And if the contract is a fluctuated contract, the tendency for you to get this money, to recoup this money, is possible, because what you needed to do is for you to present your invoice, get a publication where maybe the manufacturer has thrown out a notice that from so time plywood will be increased to such an amount of money, and will be increased. Then you now submit all of your document to the client, and the client checks it, and he pays you what the differential is between your basic rates and what the cost is actually in the market. So as you can see now, and you remember, I for the end of site, we were having differences because cement has shifted to 220 from 190, reinforcement granite has shifted by 2,000. This is, you are seeing the variance between this is the submission of total end of site is the total expenditure plus yet to be spent will give you what your end of site expenses will be. And that is what you see here. What I did here is for yet to be spent, so I now said this amount plus this amount, yet to be spent plus progress, is what is I'm having here as a total expenditure end of site. And these are the variance. I have a variation of 1.2 million, which was the figure we had here. The figure we have here, the 1.28 million that came as a result of the increase in labor costs, increase in reinforcement, and increase in granite and cement. So now, after this sheet, I needed to come and analyze. I needed to now create another sheet where I'm going to analyze my budgeted expected profit in compared to what the situation is as what the situation is as at today that I'm advancing progress, and what will be the situation at the end of site. So now I created this sheet. We remember I said we are going to make a 10% profit margin, which is 3,900,000. So now let's hide this for. So now what I did now is to analyze, to bring to link this sheet now to this, then pick my proportional cost from my top sheet, from those analyses I've just hidden, which they are They are all here. My proportional cost is 17.5%. Then my expected anticipated profit is 10%. So if I do say if I do this, um, so my expected profit is 10%. So now this is my, let me freeze, the, so now this is my budget where I analyze to actually show us that my analysis is correct. I was going to get 3.9 million as my profit, which represent 10%, 10% markup. Then this is the progress that I've made on site, and this is the 16 million I am supposed to spend to get a 23 million. Say if I want to invoice, to the client now. I am going to invoice 23 million, which is uh, equal to the progress I have made, which is 23,109,000. And that is what you are seeing here. So, and I am supposed to spend 16 million in executing the 23 million, income. Then these are the proportional operational costs. I was going to spend the 4 million for that purpose. Then if I sum up, if I now minus my income, that is my income minus my operational costs and my proportional costs, give me a 2.3 profit on the job I have done. So it's still 10%. Now, the place where the worries is this. We're now coming to the expenses. So now these are the expenses I made. I was supposed to spend 16 million to execute this job, but I ended up spending 17 million. Then my operational costs uh, remain the same. Then now, rather than making a 2.3, I made 2,065,000. So now, rather than remaining at my 10%, my profit margin has reduced by 1%. Has reduced by 1%. So it's either maybe I have to make sure I manage the remaining quantities, the work that I am yet to do, to ensure that I come back to my 10%, or or I if I don't manage the site properly, I might further reduce to the profit. I'll keep on losing as the project progresses. Now, see what the yet to be spent because of the increase in cement, and increase in cement and granite for the work that is remaining to be spent. So, though the remaining activities is I'm supposed to rake in an income of 16 million, and I am supposed to spend 13 million because cement has increased. So normally if cement has not increased, I wouldn't have spent 10 million to do the remaining job. But because cement has increased, I am spending 10 million to cast the remaining concrete. So it will now eat deep into the 1.2 million will now eat into the debt. It will now eat into my profit. Then you now see that I am now, the remaining job that I'm supposed to do, I'm now making only 2%. I'm making 2% because of the increase in terms of cost of material. So if the job is not a fluctuated contract, I am I'll be losing 8% for the remaining work that I am supposed to do. Then by the time you now sum up the total expense plus yet to be spent, for you now to know what will be your result at the end of the project, your result will now fall down to 6%. It will now come down to 6%. And where have you recorded the whole losses? You have recorded losses in concrete, you have recorded losses in formwork, you have just made slight marginal profit, marginal savings in reinforcement. So you have lost a 1.5 million from your supposed 3.9 million that was your initial profit that you proposed you were going to make. You have lost 1.9 million. So you see, you can see that from this table below, this table I have made, you can see that as the sheet, I kept on creating more sheet. I kept on reducing it. To the point where now what I just needed to, your boss want to see is this sheet. He does not care what transpired from this point till you get to these 3 sheets. He does not care to know. What he cares to see is, are we still in order? This 10%, are you still keeping it? Why are you now 9% as at today? Then you are now explaining your losses. All of these losses you are explaining. So if it is unacceptable by them, why will you be losing 1,200,000? What is the problem? So if you needed to now go back to check where you have got it wrong. Then the one that is outright loss, if it is not a fluctuated contract, it is not your making. And if there is no contingency anywhere kept, you have not made provision for contingency for such kind of situation, if it is not a fluctuated contract, then you are then in a deep, you are then in, you run into some difficulty. So I think I've been able to do justice with this cost control spreadsheet that I've created. It is very simple to create. What you needed to do is for you to just follow my lead. What I did is, like I told you, this other sheets, this other spreads, this other additional template I have created in addition to the budget, is just basically creating the same material, labor, whatever. But the formula now is you are now multiplying against the progress, while the budget is multiplying against the actual quantity you are in the bill. Why the yet to be spent is you are minusing the bill quantity from the progress made. Then this, of course, you bringing it from your basic rate, you linked it, and this basic rate will now be linked to all of this. The basic rate will now be linked to your unit rate for material, because the tendency for the quantity remaining to vary in terms of price is there, because you cannot determine what will happen in the next minute in the market. That is why you still have to link this to your basic rate so that you can update it as you advance, as you progress. So if this have been able to shed light or advance your understanding on how to manage cost on site, please hit the like button above all. subscribe to my channel to encourage me to continue to do more. Thank you. See you next in the next episode.